Good morning, everybody. Good morning, class. So, I hope you are doing well with your preparation. We are discussing various facts and features of economics of India. We have discussed the bankings, we have discussed the budgetary sessions, we discussed the international economics. Now, let us discuss the important issue which goes with the Indian economy, that is demography. So, what is demography? Demography, as the name suggests, demo means the location and graphy means study. So, study of population in a given location. It's called as demography. डेमोग्राफी का मतलब होता है किसी भी भौगोलिक एरिया में, किसी भी जोग्राफिकल प्लेस में, वेदर इट इज़ अ कंट्री, स्टेट, सिटी or village, you are studying the population dynamics, how population is changing due to job structure, due to migration, due to formation of new cities, due to developmental projects, and due to policies by government of India. So we see various countries, Germany, Sweden, Chile, Mauritius, China, where demography is in decline everywhere. Highest decline rate is seen in terms of China, because China is at boom in the population level. But India is now giving equal competition to China. इंडिया क्या कर रहा है, चाइना को इक्वली बीट कर रहा है in terms of population. So India is having largest population across the world, around 140 billion. So let us see how this population dynamics varies. What are the theories of Malthus, Nietzsche, and so on. So देखते हैं कि population dynamics कैसे change होती है और demography क्या क्या काम करती है. So we see that demography profile in India is constituted with different kind of population. अब यहाँ पे different kind of population structure है ना. Population कैसे change हो रही है? Because of people participating in the population structure. For example, the population is categorized mostly in working, unemployed, female workers, children, elderly, disabled. Further, population is also categorized on religion basis. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jains, Sikh, and so on. So demography is a statistical study of human population. It studies the variable related with the population size, the growth, factors of growth, distribution of population around the country based on geographical location, and size of population, growth, density. Density refers to the depth of or highest number of population within a given locality. For example, mega cities such as Kolkata, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai shows comparatively larger population composition in terms of their resources, employment, lifestyle, and due to this factor people often migrate. So migration, what is migration? Movement of people from one place to other in search of employment, opportunities, good life, medicines, and so on. So why people are creating such a demographic problem? Because people believe that in cities they are having better conditions of life. In cities people are having better life chances, better health facilities, better opportunities. Therefore people migrate from cities to from villages to the cities. And people also seen in the COVID lockdown scenario that we saw the process of reverse migration also. Okay, now moving ahead, what is demography? Hmm, where it is going? So, demography is a condition where the human population is size and structure is compared, or demography deals with size and structure of population in a given locality. So it is a scientific study of human population. It scientifically study how population is behaving under certain manner, how population behave towards industries, how people are behaving towards pilgrimage places, how people are behaving towards mountains or rivers. So what is people's actions towards certain localities, certain geographical places, and how they are changing from one place to another. So therefore it calculates the empirical data जो कि verifiable data है, which is taken from census of India. Currently we are following 2011 census. Hmm? So therefore it is a scientific study based on census data and statistics. Therefore Indian Statistical Institute and Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation came into force. So government collects the data through the demographic process. अब demography को आप समझ रहे हैं. Now you are understanding that demography is working of population towards certain situation, certain condition and conditionalities. So demography works towards the fertility. किसी community की fertility rate high रहती है. You see some fertility rate is somewhere low. For example, in mountains you see fertility rate is low, but in plainy areas high fertility rate is there. High fertility leads to burden over the resources. So resources क्या हैं? Limited हैं. Malthus की theory यहाँ पे क्या कहेगी? That the resources are limited. That means food is rising arithmetically, but the population is rising exponentially, and after certain time it start falling and there is constraint. So food is limited, resources are limited, but population rate is high. So this rate leads to certain constraining feature. When there is constraints between resource and their distribution, therefore we saw situations of World War First, World War II. Then war-like situation emerges. People who need more land to run their industries, to have resources and uh, raw materials for running factories. So raw materials कहाँ से मिलेंगे? लैंड से. लैंड कहाँ पे होगा? जहाँ पे माइंस होंगी, मिनरल्स होंगे. So everyone wants to capture these things, and लैंड से क्या निकलेगा? फूड आइटम्स. So for that matter people needs to get control over it, and due to this process there is a challenge over the demography. So demography is either transitioning or either it's constraining, then leads to world war scenario. Then second comes the mortality rate. neonatal birth rate, child mortality rate, and फीमेल मोर्टेलिटी रेट. सो जहाँ पे फीमेल मोर्टेलिटी रेट ज़्यादा होगी वहाँ पे पॉपुलेशन डिक्लाइन कर जाएगी, बिकॉज people will have their share at larger level, and the people who are having children, if their mother is died, the children become orphaned. Then it again leads to crime, it leads to beggary, it leads to misery. So that is again due to this. Then comes the marriage structure. Marriage structure shows that how people are getting marriage, how they are having interreligious marriage, and they are having intercaste marriage. So marriage in terms of interreligion or intercaste is again a challenge. Why? Because the intercaste marriage leads to rising of population. Some places where there is a dispute, then the person who is having another caste girl has to leave his property. So property dispute arises, migration at larger level. But somehow we see migration also being social mobility. Migration से क्या हो रही है? Social mobility भी हो रही है. And what is that leading? Social mobility is leading to the change in the society. जो deprived sections हैं, जो backward communities हैं, या the people who are struggling with their life, they feel included, they feel opportunities, they found their life cycle for development. So therefore the opportunity is provided through the demographic mobility. Keep it in mind that demography either acts as a demographic dividend or demography acts as a burden many a time. So demography क्या करती है? या तो ये burden हो जाती है, या तो फिर ये प्रॉफिटेबल पार्ट होती है जिससे आप इंक्लूड करते हो अपनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ को, अपने पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ को. ओके, सो वी विल सी द डिटेल्स ऑफ demographic process, and we will see how demography is changing, what is the demographic structure, and what leads to the changing dimension of demography, what are the issues arising out of demography, and how should people work in order to create better demography system. We will all discuss in this chapter, so let's move ahead. So India is going to a process of breakdown. Why it is happening so? Because India is facing tremendous challenge of demography. India is overburdened with the population. हमारे कंट्री में जब हम बात करते हैं रिसोर्सेज की, सो इंडिया हैव लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज एंड इंडिया हैव लिमिटेड जोग्राफिकल प्रोफाइल. कुछ एरियाज नॉन फर्टाइल हैं, desert areas of Rajasthan, some areas are drought prone, some areas of heavy rivers are flood prone, so there is limited food, and there are mountain ranges, so low productivity rises. But you see the population of different parts, the different parts of the country are over flooded with the population, and people in the different parts of India are struggling to get their job, to get employment, to get good education. Even schools are burdened, so people are facing challenge in getting education, people are facing challenge in the resource allocation. People are facing challenge in the hospitals. In COVID lockdown scenario, we see people were dying near the hospitals and there were no place to get admitted because hospitals were overburdened. So what this data shows to you, under 15 age of population is 25.4%, and 15 to 29 age composition is 26.4%. Therefore, if we include this population and including the age of 30 to 44, that forms a demographic dividend. What is demographic dividend? Demographic dividend is the surplus of working age population. Why it is a dividend? Because this population will get employed. It is highly employable and it has the job opportunities. It get into the system of life, and this population creates a hegemony over the dependent population. So this is working population, and this population above 60 to 85 is dependent. They cannot go to office to work. So look, India is having tremendous population, adding to which 26, 22, 15, which crosses to 75% of population, which is working condition, which is age of working condition. So that yields a huge profit and the boom in the economic scenario. So this is the reason why India is expected to become a developed country soon, because this population will be multiplied with the working growth of multinational companies. This population will be yielding revenue taxes to the government of India whenever they purchase some goods, some commodities, some eating items. Then they create and generate revenue for the government of India. Therefore, this population is a boon for India. So we see the demographic transition model in India, in which we find that how population dynamics is changing. So that is a cycle of population change. So demographic transition model portrays how a country moves from high birth to death rates to low birth rate and death rates, and it become increasingly industrialized, because population needs to be trapped of its potential. जो population इंजीनियरिंग कर रही है, मेडिकल कर रहे हैं, फार्मेसी कर रहे हैं, आईटीआई कर रहे हैं, उन्हें जॉब चाहिए, देन दे विल प्रोड्यूस रेवेन्यू, देन दे विल हैव परचेजिंग पावर पैरिटी, तभी वो एफ एम सी जीज एम एन सीज के प्रोडक्ट को परचेज करेंगे, देन विल बी द ग्रोथ. सो व्हाट इज दिस फ्लक्चुएशन? एट फर्स्ट स्टेज it consists of the high birth and death rates, and at this stage the population is stable or growth quite slowly because of the number of birth and death are almost equal. So birth is equal to death at many level, that is highly fluctuating. So this shown in the pandemic condition or in the conditions when people are declined through their population scenario. Then comes the second stage of population, in which population sharply decline in the death rate, causing growth in the population. So death rate जैसे reduce होगी, growth rate automatically rise होगी. So there is better growth rate. In third stage we see the life is expanding. That means the birth rate falls and it slows down the population growth. It proves that the birth rate is controlled by the population control measures, by the government measures of contraceptives and educated methods using test tube baby, and people are sustained with the existing population. So there is decline in the birth rate which slows down the population growth. Therefore the rise in population is controlled and there is reduction in the population. थर्ड स्टेज पे क्या होगा? रिडक्शन हो जाएगी पॉपुलेशन की. Then at fourth stage both the birth and death rate are low, resulting in falling and stable population. बर्थ रेट भी लो हो जाएगी, and death rate is also reduced by maintained medicines and proper hygiene care, है ना? Then it will be low fluctuation population in the fourth stage, but as soon as it enters the fifth stage, the population starts declining. And although it is somewhat ambiguous, population start declining at fifth stage. When comes the saturation period, as in case of UK, Brazil, USA, heavily industrialized countries. In case of Germany also. Therefore, this country are asking people to migrate to Europe from countries like India, Africa, and other countries. So there was a population thinker who gave the concept of the three stages of demographic transition. This given by Nottestein. So remember this name? Nottestein in around 1929 gave the concept of three stages of population growth. First stage, in which population maintains the constant rate of growth, as in case of Bangladesh, rainforest tribes were there, so tribal population are at consistent level. So हमें क्या देखने को मिल रही है? Consistency in population. And at the second stage, the population seems to be expanding. It means naturally increase in the population. Population is naturally increasing, birth rate is declining, and death rate is reducing. So this curve shows that there is constant maintenance of population, as in case of Peru in the South American country, where population was declined to a level of Sri Lanka and Kenya with the consistent population. Then comes the third stage, when there is decline in the crude birth rate and there is decline in the crude death rate. These are declined, but the population gets saturated according to the time, such as in Japan, UK, USA, Canada, that are developed countries. So population are not growing at all, they are stagnated. So these three stages shows the first stage at high birth and death rates with the slow population growth. At the second stage, the death rate falls, but the birth rate remains the same. At third stage, starts to fall the population growth, and there is slow rate of population. So ये कर्व क्या शो करा है नेट से? Nottestein का. Nottestein curve gives only the birth rate and time based scenario. यहाँ पे क्या फ्लॉज है? There is lack of food or resources. ये रिसोर्स को इंक्लूड नहीं कर रहे हैं. That is falling in the consistent population rise. Then comes the Warren Thompson. अब इस नेटसन के थ्योरी में कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स दिख रही हैं. सो इसको काउंटर करने के लिए वॉरेन थॉमसन आ गए विद द 5 स्टेज थ्योरी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन. 5 स्टेज थ्योरी क्या कह रही है? ड्यू टू हाई डेथ रेट विथ नलिफाइड द हाई बर्थ रेट, हाई डेथ रेट हो रही है और उसके चलते जो भी लोग बर्थ रेट पे हो रहे हैं, जो पॉपुलेशन है वो इक्वलाइज हो जा रही है. सो ड्यू टू हाई डेथ रेट, equalization of birth rate is there. Crude death rate equals to crude birth rate. And in this stage the economics were primitive and primarily agricultural. So ये कौन सा स्टेज था? फर्स्ट स्टेज इन एग्रेरियन सोसाइटी. जब हम विलेज की बात करते हैं, अभी भी देखते हो किसी किसी विलेज में डेथ रेट इज़ वेरी हाई. सो जो भी बच्चे पैदा हो रहे हैं या ओल्ड एज के लोग की मृत्यु हो रही है, वो बैलेंस कर जा रही है इस डेथ रेट को. सो देयर फोर वाइड स्प्रेड ऑफ इलिटरेसी इज देयर. इलिटरेसी रहेगी, देयर इज़ पुअर सैनिटेशन, देयर इज़ लो हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, एंड देयर इज़ negligible knowledge of family planning. So family planning do not exist at all. So large family size and unplanned structure. Then comes a scenario where family planning is needed but is not available due to backward scenario. Backwardness रहेगी, illiteracy रहेगी, तो कहाँ से family planning होगी? So in this period between first and second stage, the death rate start reducing. अब first and second stage के period के बीच death rate कम होनी शुरू हो जाएगी and the birth rate remains the stable. So population shows little inclination and which brings imbalance in the economy. अब यहाँ पे inflation देखने को मिलेगा. You will see rise in the prices because rise in population, lower resources, therefore rise in prices. So this structure is like due to disease control, improving nutrition level, sanitation improvement and reduction of death rate, but the measures for controlling birth rate are not implemented. अब birth rate के measures implement नहीं हो पा रहे हैं because of अशिक्षा, illiteracy, ignorance, poverty, that leads to transition from the first stage to second stage. So birth rate is high, death rate is high. That is the problem of conflict. Now you see in this stage, we are at the first stage where the first birth rate is high and death rate is also high. Birth rate high है, death rate भी high है. So population shows fluctuation. Okay, village societies and traditional societies. Now at the second stage, there is declining in the death rate and maintenance of birth rate. पूरे सेकेंड स्टेज में आप देख रहे हो कि डेथ रेट इज कंसिस्टेंटली रिड्यूस. डेथ रेट रिड्यूस हो रही है तो जो पॉपुलेशन है एग्जिस्टिंग में, जो लोग बड़े हो रहे हैं, दे आर गेटिंग एम्प्लॉयड एंड दे आर प्रोडक्टिवली एम्प्लॉयड, सो दे आर जनरेटिंग रेवेन्यू फॉर द गवर्नमेंट थ्रू पेइंग टैक्सेस at various levels, and that leads to early industrial sector. Then comes the mature industrial sector, which is slowing the population, and there is, अब क्या हो गया, पॉपुलेशन में मेच्योरिटी आ गई. अब बर्थ रेट भी रिड्यूस हो रहा है क्योंकि लोग पढ़े लिखे हो गए हैं. राइज ऑफ लिटरेसी, सो दे आर यूजिंग कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेजर्स, IUCDs, condoms and female fertilization, disfertilization techniques. So they are controlling the population at family level, है ना. इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटी में आप देखते हो each family has one children or maximum two children, but there is huge education, there is large level of family system, they maintain the population dynamics, health and hygiene is good. So therefore at the third stage the maximum growth is seen, but as soon as the fourth stage reaches, the technology level gets saturated. अब यहाँ पे टेक्नोलॉजी भी सैचुरेट कर जा रही है बिकॉज सिमिलर इंडस्ट्रियल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज देयर. इंडस्ट्रीज का ग्रोथ स्टैग्नेट कर गया, टेक्नोलॉजी स्टैग्नेट कर गई, तो आप देख रहे हो ना कंप्यूटर बेस्ड काम होने लगे, तो मैनुअल वर्कर्स गेट अनएम्प्लॉयड, है ना. Then again shows the imbalance in the birth rate scenario. फिर जो लोग स्लम्स में आ रहे हैं, सिटीज़ के साइड वाइज रह रहे हैं, तो स्लम ड्वेलर की पॉपुलेशन वो फ्लक्चुएट होनी शुरू हो जाएगी, एंड दैट विल बी सिनेरियो ऑफ पोस्ट इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटी. सो पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ बिकम वेरी लो एंड द बर्थ रेट गोज अगेन फ्लक्चुएटिंग. सो लेट अस सी द second stage population explosion, in which you see clearly that in the second stage population is exploded largely, and therefore rise in education, health control measures, health and hygienes, proper medicines, proper disease resistant system, proper education is there, Therefore this leads to reducing of death rate. So अब क्या होगी, सेकेंड स्टेज में क्रूड डेथ रेट रिड्यूस हो गई. सो अब पॉपुलेशन भी बढ़ रही है, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ रहा है. दैट इज़ द बेस्ट स्टेज ऑफ एन इकोनॉमी एंड दैट इज सीन इन द 6th and 7th 5-year प्लान स्टेज ऑफ इंडिया, क्योंकि पॉपुलेशन बढ़ रही है और ग्रोथ भी बढ़ रहा है. देन कम्स द रिडक्शन इन द फैमिली साइज, improved trade and economic conditions, more food and better food habits further help in the growth of higher rate in the first stage. So high birth rate and low death rate is seen. So then comes the third stage. अब क्या होगा थर्ड स्टेज में, अब दोनों चीज़ें धीरे धीरे gradually this will go to saturation. अब थर्ड स्टेज पे saturation आना शुरू होगा. बर्थ रेट भी स्टैग्नेट हो रही है, डेथ रेट भी स्टैग्नेट हो रही है. पॉपुलेशन इज़ हेविली इंडस्ट्रियलाइज्ड, इंगेज्ड, एम्प्लॉयड पॉपुलेशन. सो मॉडर्नाइजेशन एंड इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन आ गई, तो लोगों के लाइफ स्टाइल में भी चेंज आया. हेल्थ एंड हाइजीन पे लोग वर्क कर रहे हैं एंड पीपल विल वर्क एट क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ. लोग अपने जीवन की क्वालिटी पे वर्क कर रहे हैं, रादर दे आर थिंकिंग ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग सिनेरियो ऑफ पॉपुलेशन. क्या देखने को मिलेगा हमें, इंडिविजुअल डेवलपमेंट एंड ग्रोथ, फोकस ऑन एजुकेशन, फोकस ऑन प्रॉपर्टी बिल्डिंग, फोकस ऑन साइंटिफिक डेवलपमेंट, साइंटिफिक एंड लॉजिकल टेम्परामेंट है. सो देयर इज high stationary population at first stage, second stage is early expanding and third stage late expanding. So at third stage there will be nuclear families. फैमिली स्ट्रक्चर कैसे होगा, सिंगल पेरेंट, मॉम एंड डैड होंगे एंड इनके 2 बच्चे होंगे. हम दो हमारे दो वाला सिद्धांत हो जाएगा यहाँ पे अप्लाई, है ना. सो देयर विल बी अ न्यूक्लियर फैमिली. फैमिली विल बी containing 4 people only. पहले क्या होता था, ट्रेडिशनल फैमिली, है ना, प्रिमिटिव सोसाइटी में हम दो हमारे 10, फॉर एग्जांपल लालू जी का परिवार, है ना, हम दो हमारे 9. सो पूरी क्रिकेट टीम एक फैमिली में हो गई. बट एज द पॉपुलेशन रीच थर्ड स्टेज, पीपल बिकम इंटेलिजेंट and the standard of living increases, there is down of mortality rate and birth rate is reduced. So the population growth started declining. So decline in birth rate and decline in death rate is there. So population यहाँ पे stagnation हो गया. और अब हम देखेंगे कि फोर्थ स्टेज जैसे ही आएगा, the population will lead to total stagnation. फोर्थ स्टेज पे जो पॉपुलेशन डिक्लाइन हो गई है, अब वो बिल्कुल स्टैग्नेट कर गई है. स्टैग्नेशन एंड सैचुरेशन हैज़ बीन फाउंड. सो देयर इज डिक्लाइन इन पॉपुलेशन स्टेज एंड द डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज लाइक वेस्टर्न यूरोप, यूके, फ्रांस, स्विट्जरलैंड, पॉपुलेशन अब डिक्लाइन हो रहा है, डिक्लाइनिंग पॉपुलेशन, एंड there is subsistent agricultural growth and stagnating economy. अब इकोनॉमी क्या होगी, स्टैग्नेटिंग हो जाएगी, क्योंकि कंज्यूमर बचेंगे नहीं ना. जो इंडस्ट्रीज़ प्रोड्यूस कर रही हैं, फैक्ट्रीज़ में जो चीज़ें बन रही हैं, टूथपेस्ट, साबुन, सर्फ, एनीथिंग, एसी, फ्रिज, लैपटॉप, मोबाइल, दे आर नॉट बीइंग कंज्यूम्ड. सो कंजम्पशंस decline, therefore the economics decline. And imaginatively family planning program to encourage family to adopt the small family norms. और यहाँ पे क्या होगा, इमेजिनेशनली प्लान लागू की जाएगी जो भी गवर्नमेंट रहेगी, सो दैट दे शुड हैव अ मिनिमम फैमिली पॉपुलेशन, मिनिमम हाउस होल्ड पॉपुलेशन के लिए हाउस होल्ड के मिनिमम नंबर्स ऑफ पीपल के लिए प्लानिंग की जाएगी. सो वी सी द डेमोग्राफिक साइकिल थ्रू दिस पिक्चर. अब ये पिक्चर आ गई जिसमें आप समझ रहे हैं कि कैसे कैसे स्टेजेस फॉल कर रहे हैं. सो यू सी the 5 stages of population. Birth rate or death rate constant at first stage. Second stage there is decline and consistency in birth rate. Birth rate constant है, death rate कम हो गया तो population density maintained हो गई पूरे country में. That yields to productivity in economy. That yields to consumption. So highest economic growth is seen in this level of third stage. Then again declination in birth rate and death rate, that both leads to saturation at the joint venture of fourth and fifth stage. Saturation आ गया ना कि अब दोनों इकोनॉमी नहीं काम कर रही है. सो बर्थ रेट आप देख रहे हो फर्स्ट स्टेज में हाई, सेकंड स्टेज स्टिल हाई, एंड डेथ रेट इज हाई, सेकंड स्टेज में रिड्यूस हो गया. सो नेचुरल इंक्रीज स्टेबल एंड लो इंक्रीज. पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड अपवर्ड रहेगा बिल्कुल शार्प. सेकेंड स्टेज में रैपिड इंक्रीज हो रही है पॉपुलेशन एंड द पॉपुलेशन पिरामिड बिकम स्टेबल. थर्ड स्टेज में birth rate is falling, death rate is falling, and the population pyramid become conical in shape, house-like shape. At fourth stage, there is decline in the birth rate, decline in the death rate, and the population keeps on falling. So economy भी fall करनी शुरू हो जाएगी, and there is a parabolic shape. And at fifth stage, pyramid is also seen in declining of population. Death rate is also very low. So there is very little change, as you see, very little change at the base, at the fifth stage. So the demographic cycle itself shows that at high stationary stage, there at first stage, which is characterized by high birth rate and high death rate. ये demographic cycle के features हैं, इसे आप नोट बनाओगे और याद रखोगे. Then second stage, early expansion is there, death rate begins to decline with the birth rate remains unchanged. At third stage, late expanding is seen as death rate is declining and birth rate is also declined. Then comes low stationary stage, low birth rate and low death rate. Then comes the fifth stage where birth rate is lower than the death rate. Birth rate death rate से भी कम हो जाएगी, and that leads to population declining. Okay. So what is optimum theory of population? पहले मैल्थ्यूस को देख लेते हैं. मैल्थ्यूस ने क्या कहा? मैल्थ्यूस said, नहीं पहले ऑप्टिमम थ्योरी समझते हैं. ऑप्टिमम थ्योरी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन provides you that the every country is having optimum level of population, whether it is India, Germany, Japan, China, Pakistan. There should be minimum level of population which is balanced with the resources, so that there should be no burden, there should be less competition, and there should be easy availability of jobs and opportunities. So optimum population is that population which gives maximum income per head. Therefore each individual will have maximum expenditure power, so maximum purchasing कर सकते हैं, and that head to natural resource availability, which is inversely population. So as the population rises, the resources decline. So there is inverse relationship between population and resources. If the population exceeds the optimum level, there is a problem of overpopulation. जैसे ही optimum level को क्रॉस कर जाती है population, जैसा कि आप थर्ड स्टेज में देख रहे हैं, जैसे ही ऑप्टिमम लेवल को क्रॉस करती हैं देयर बिकम्स द प्रॉब्लम एज द रिसोर्सेज स्टार्ट कंस्ट्रेनिंग। उसी पे मैथ्यूज कहेंगे कि रिसोर्स कंस्ट्रेन हो रहे हैं and which leads to struggle and war-like scenario. So one of the most important thinker of population, that is Thomas Malthus, who gave the concept of population growth and philosophy of population. He gave the Malthusian growth model and founded the Statistical Society of London, यूनाइटेड किंगडम की स्टैटिस्टिकल सोसाइटी बनाई गई, जिसमें कुछ समय जाके इंडियन स्टैटिस्टिक्स ने भी काम किया. So Malthus argued that while food production could only increase in the arithmetic progression, human population growth exponentially. फूड जो है एक अर्थमेटिक प्रोग्रेशन के हिसाब से बढ़ेगा, बट द पॉपुलेशन राइजेस एक्सपोनेंशियली और आफ्टर सम टाइम द पॉपुलेशन फॉल्स. सो he supported the preventive and positive checks on population growth. So Malthus theory explains the population in a geometric fashion कि फूड बढ़ रहा है और पॉपुलेशन भी बढ़ रही है, बट एट सर्टेन लेवल जैसे ही फूड का प्रोडक्शन कम हो जाएगा ड्यू टू ओवर बर्डनिंग प्रोसेस, देयर शुड बी वॉर लाइक सिनेरियो, देयर शुड बी स्ट्रेन. सो the population would double in 25 years at this rate, and food supply is slower in the rate, therefore there should be a trap. So इस trap में क्या होगा, अभी आप देख रहे हो population. In this diagram you are looking that population is rising, high population, low food, क्योंकि लैंड इज़ लिमिटेड. सो आप फर्टिलाइज़र डाल रहे हो, यूरिया डाल रहे हो, बट प्रोडक्टिविटी रिमेन्स द सेम बिकॉज एग्रीकल्चर इज़ लार्जली डिपेंड ऑन मानसून इन मेनी कंट्रीज. तो कभी कभी आप देखते हो कि मानसून फेलियर से ड्यू टू ला नीना, अल नीनो, देयर इज़ लेस रेनफॉल एंड दैट लीड्स टू लेस फूड प्रोडक्टिविटी. सो लेस फूड प्रोडक्टिविटी होगी तो पॉपुलेशन ऑप्टिमाइज्ड नहीं हो पाएगी, दे विल हैव low items and therefore this gap will be constraining. और यहाँ पे क्या हो जाएगी, ट्रैप हो जाएगी. due to overburdening population there will be situation of war, there should be struggle, unemployment हो जाएगी ज़्यादा, inflation बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. in the same situation Pakistan is getting trapped, the best example. So population increases geometrically and food increases arithmetically. Food को आप देख रहे हो arithmetically बढ़ रहा है सीधा linear, but population exponential growth हो गई बिल्कुल e to the power x kind of thing. You see high fluctuation and the population could increase beyond the planet could have support. So limited land and food resource के चलते क्या हो जाएगा, ट्रैप हो जाएगा, इकोनॉमी विल गेट ट्रैप्ड एंड देयरफॉर अ वॉर लाइक सिनेरियो जनरेट्स. So therefore we see that this thing happened. Then government of India created national population policy of 2000. और गवर्नमेंट ने क्या लाया, गवर्नमेंट bring out the government policy in year 2000 and government brings the population policy certain objectives of balanced population, inflation control methodology and sustainable development model. Due to this we are sustaining with still having such large population. So I hope that you are understanding this class very well. और अब आगे चलेंगे, जो अब हम डिस्कस करेंगे some questions that can be asked in your upcoming mains examination. We should practice the answer writing techniques in this session also. So what thing you get in the class. You are getting optimum things, so you need to make notes and you need to create your framework to study this, है ना? Now let us see some of the questions that can be asked from this population. So explain different theories of population. Explain the Malthusian trap in detail. और क्या सकता है? Critically analyze the concept of demographic dividend in terms of India. है ना? So एक क्वेश्चन को हम आंसर करते हैं. Let us answer one question. Explain the demographic dividend. डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड वाले क्वेश्चन को हम देखते हैं फटाफट. डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड क्या होता है? द पॉपुलेशन विच इज प्रोडक्टिव, employable and efficiently contributing to economy of a country. तो ये क्या हो गया है पॉपुलेशन का. अब ऑप्टिमाइजेशन करते हैं हम. See, you add dimensions and you can add sub dimensions also. अब सब डायमेंशंस में आप क्या ऐड करोगे? डायमेंशंस तो हो गए जियोग्राफिकल फैक्टर, माइग्रेशन फैक्टर, इंडस्ट्रियल फैक्टर्स, हेल्थ फैक्टर. सब डायमेंशंस में you will elaborate that India is having highest population range between 15 to 50, and in sub part this population is productive, employable and should contribute towards the growth and development of country. Then you write that this population is creating change in the industrial sector also. So this population, after getting skill development program such as NSQF, Kaushal Shiksha program, ITI, diploma, BTech, MBA, professional education, this population become employed and they yields to consumption, they contribute to tax payment, they contribute to different consumption and demand supply mechanism. So therefore this demography boost economic development, but somehow it is also constraining due to resource scarcity. Resource की scarcity है in food items. Therefore there emerges certain kind of challenges. So how to counter these challenges? कैसे सरकार काउंटर करेगी? ऑप्टिमम पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी लाके, है ना, हम दो हमारे दो, एंड एजुकेशन थ्रू स्प्रेडिंग एजुकेशन, अवेयरनेस, नॉलेज थ्रू वेरियस NGOs, आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स, and therefore make optimum use of this population. So conclude it with the futuristic ideas and your own self-made concept. So I hope you are understanding the core concept. Write it at my telegram t.me/gsrevolt. See you in the next class. Thank you and have a nice day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.